Hello, Kamal. Thank you so much for joining us here today, giving us your time. Before we move forward, I want you to share a bit about your background and what inspired you to become a corporate trainer.
Thank you so much, Bhavita, for having me over here. And as you all know, my name is Kamal Aggarwal, and I've been in the training industry. So I am qualified as an MBA with a specialization in human resources, post which I did my training certification from ISTD, which is Indian Society for Training and Development. After that, I started my career into training and have worked with various organizations like Hero Mind, Max New York Live, ICICI Prudential, to name a few, and worked with lots of corporates in the training area, in the corporate training area, and trained on various modules ranging from interpersonal communication to communication skills to business etiquette. And of course, PoSH has been one thing that I've added in last few years to my overall portfolio. And PoSH is something which I'm very, very particular and passionate about also. When I say PoSH, it means Prevention of Sexual Harassment Against Women at Work Act 2013. So about 5 years back, I got certified as a PoSH trainer from the Ministry of Child and Women Welfare, and I've also been doing that parallelly with all other training programs.
Okay. So why do you think PoSH compliance is crucial for modern workplaces?
Yeah, so see, Bhavita, what happens, you, me, we both are women, and we would understand the issues that we come across on day-to-day basis. Whenever a woman goes to work, she leaves everything behind and wants to go and work and achieve something. However, we've seen, and there are researches that say 38% women have faced sexual harassment at workplace, and there is no systematic way of actually dealing with it. The only option that is left to a woman is go to the police and file an FIR. And you know it's a very, very cumbersome process, and there is a lot of bad publicity around it also, questioning the women, questioning her role in it. So all those things. So PoSH has kind of helped women there. So what PoSH essentially says is that first, there is a confidentiality clause that whoever puts a complaint, and against whoever the complaint has been given, you are not supposed to, one, there is only IC committee that knows about it, which is called the internal committee, and nobody else needs to know about that complaint. So that is one thing that kind of helps women to speak up, because when I say 38% have faced sexual harassment, 68% have not been able to complain because of fear of social pressures and everything else, all the other things included. And therefore, PoSH is a very, very good mechanism for women to come up and file their complaint.
So my next question to you is, what are some of the common misconceptions about sexual harassment in the workplace that you encountered during your training sessions?
Yeah, so a couple of misconceptions that I come across is there is no sexual harassment. It doesn't work like that. Then generally women complain for the heck of complaining. That is another myth. Just like that they will complain. They complain to set a vendetta against people, or they complain. Whereas I always tell them that, if you go and look into research, you will find more women not complaining than false complaints. So that's another myth that we come across. And then the third one is it's all about women. It's all about protecting women. What about men? And then there are kind of grievance cells for men also. So that's again a thing that we generally come across in my training programs.
So how does this online internal committee certificate program addresses the misconceptions and help participants understand the reality of workplace harassment?
Yeah, so when during the entire course of the program, we're also looking at things like, first, how you can become a change agent. And it's not about just women, it's also about men, because men need to understand the nuances of PoSH. Men need to understand what can comprise of sexual harassment and what may not comprise of sexual harassment. And every employee needs to understand. So that is the first aspect when we cover in a training program. Second, we say in the first module itself, we talk about unconscious biasness, the society that we live in, the upbringing that we get is from day one we are boxed into a blue box and a pink box. So the idea is to break those boxes and merge together. When we talk about a gender neutral, gender equal society, we do not want those boxes to work in isolation. We want them to work parallelly, and that's what we talk about. And then we talk about what are the main things that are required for the IC committee to know. So most of the organizations, they have an internal committee because compliance is required and a tick mark on the paper is required. So what they do is there is an IC committee, but if I go and ask them, okay, what is the role of an internal committee? When you get a complaint, what do you do? How much is the time duration between which you should settle the complaint? What is the first step that you need to take, and how much is the duration? Like if today I have received a complaint from, say, Bhavita against someone, what is my first step? Within how many days do I need to take care of that complaint? So all those things is what we talk about. We kind of educate the internal committee around that. We educate the internal committee on how to create awareness programs. So because it's very essential for every organization that is PoSH compliant, not just on paper, but also the employee knows that there is an internal committee. These are the members of the internal committee. This is where I need to file a complaint. Because if that does not happen, and if any case goes out of the organization, first, the organization gets a very bad reputation. Second, people within the organization, even if the case is settled under the carpet, or there is a conciliation happened, people in the organization do not feel safe and secure. So the then gender diversity then goes for a toss, because more women will not want to come and join that organization. So from that perspective also, and today we're talking about diversity and inclusion, so it's very essential that we have such things in our organization. So that's another thing that we help the IC committee to build within the organization, a culture of respect, a culture of zero tolerance.
So, could you explain the main objectives of PoSH Act 2013 and how it aims to protect the employees?
Yes, so the main objective of this act was to, of course, protect women and give them a safe and secure workplace. So that was the main underlying theme of the act, from where the act stemmed. And also that when something goes wrong with the woman when she's at work, the responsibility and the ownership is of the employer and not the employee. That is also another aspect that came out from PoSH. And the third most important aspect, as I've already mentioned, is the confidentiality part. Because if you are not confident enough to go up to the internal committee or to go and file an FIR, that's one hesitation that people have. So this kind of gives you a platform to go talk, start the first level of interactions, and then see whether this is a complaint worthy of the next step or not.
And what do you think about, what role does unconscious bias play in workplace harassment, and how can organizations work to eliminate these biases?
Yeah, so I think the root cause of sexual harassment is unconscious bias. The fact that men, the patriarchal society that we've lived in, and the fact that men come with this mindset that we are superior to women in some sense.
Yeah.
And whenever there is a power position play, and when they see a woman is trying to get up, that is one thing that triggers it, that let me show you your place kind of an attitude. And that is what we talk about when we talk about unconscious bias. That is what we want to remove. Women dressing a certain way, expected to dress a certain way, women expected to talk a certain way. That is an unconscious bias that we're living in, and that is one thing that I would want to eradicate from everybody's mind. It's both men and women. I will not say it's just men having that, because we are born and brought up in such an environment. Everybody in our society, it talks like that, and everything around us is like that. Oh, you are don't cry like a girl. That's what we say to the boys.
Yeah.
And if a girl is dressed and jumping around and she's not wearing girly clothes, you'll say, oh, don't become a tomboy. Why are you becoming a tomboy? You see, I mean, everything, there is an unconscious bias attached to it. So like if a woman goes for an interview and the question asked to her is, are you planning to get married? or if
Yeah.
you've just gotten married,
Family.
आप तो बहुत जल्दी you'll go the family way, then how are the
Yeah.
things going to work? You know, these
Yeah.
are some of the unconscious biases that are there. So the idea behind removing those and understanding that she's an equal partner when she's coming to work, you have to respect her equally. She has the same level of skill and knowledge that you have.
True. So, can you provide an overview of the curriculum offered in online internal committee certificate program?
Yes, definitely, Bhavita. Thank you for asking that. So the curriculum includes a 6-hour online learning modules with interactions with me in between, group and one-to-one sessions both. And we do a lot of case studies. The entire program is online. However, when you will go through the program, you will find that the program is very interactive and gives you a lot of opportunity to also practically use those skills with the help of a lot of case studies and small videos and snippets. So that's the idea. Now, what it includes is, of course, we start with unconscious bias and the mindset and from where PoSH came. And then we talk about what are the requirements, pre-requirements, or what are the requirements for an IC committee, who all can be a member of an IC committee, how many members are required in an IC committee. When you receive a complaint, how do you categorize whether it is a PoSH complaint or not? Because not every complaint that might come to you will be a PoSH complaint. So you need to be able to identify that, yes, this is a PoSH complaint and this is not a PoSH complaint. And
Okay, so that's quite interesting. So my question to you is that how does the program help participants develop the skills that are necessary to implement PoSH compliance effectively in their organizations?
yeah, so PoSH compliance, most of the companies are required to have PoSH compliance. Any organization that has more than 10 employees needs to have a PoSH internal committee in place. And a lot of companies are doing it because if the Ministry of Women and Child Development gets to know that, an organization is not PoSH compliant, then they are fined and penalized. So because of that, a lot of organizations are now wanting to be PoSH compliant. However, the problem or the issue that I've seen mostly is that, again, as I said, it's mostly on paper. There is an IC in place, there's an internal committee in place, but who are the members, how to reach out, that is not circulated in the organization. The first step that we request each organization to is, first, everywhere in your organization, on your website, people should know who are the members of the internal committee and who to write a mail to. Because when there is a confidentiality clause, and if a person goes to HR, because whenever there is a harassment, the employee, looks forward to go and meet HR, because that's the only point of contact that employees generally feel that they can reach out to. And even if an HR gets to know about the complaint, and if that HR person is not part of the IC internal committee, then that HR needs to be a witness to the case, because of course otherwise the confidentiality clause comes into play. So therefore, these are some nitty-gritties that we want organizations to understand, which they do not. So, and again, then when you are doing an awareness program, each organization needs to do one awareness programs at least quarterly on prevention of sexual harassment at workplace against women, and how much to give to the employees, how much to tell, what not to tell, is also how we tell them, like what kind of awareness sessions you should do, how do you conduct those awareness sessions. Because many times we've seen people conduct awareness session which leads to a lot of panic and unrest in the men, and women sometimes come up with very weird complaints which do not even amount to sexual harassment complaints. So there has to be a way of doing a awareness program also. So that's another aspect that we look at when we are doing it.
Okay.
Online programs.
So, ma'am, in your experience, what you feel are some of the key challenges that organizations face when implementing PoSH policies, and how can they overcome them?
Yeah, so the first challenge that organizations are facing is, of course, lack of awareness in the organizations, and that needs to be taken care of. The second is equipping the internal committee with all the right knowledge and skills. That's another. challenge. And the third challenge is, if everything is in place, still when the complaint comes to them, organizations feel jittery, and sometimes due to internal clout, or that a certain person is at a senior position, the management tries to influence the committee to go a certain way for when they are making their recommendations, which is also not right, because in case the complainant decides to go to the court of law, which is files an FIR, the IC will also come under that, and the IC's decision will also be called upon and asked. And this has happened in many cases recently. We have a lot of cases where the IC has been asked that on what basis have you come to this decision. So therefore, these are a few challenges that organizations are facing when it comes to implementing PoSH.
Okay, so my next question is that how important do you think is it for an organization to have an effective internal committee, and what steps should they take to ensure that it functions well?
So see, Bhavita, it is very, very important for any organizations to have a working and internal committee which understands everything about PoSH, because only if they will understand, they will be able to work towards the betterment of the organization and creating a cultural change within the organization. Now, we've seen, I've come across some internal committees which are so good, they're working so nicely that, the overall environment, and sometimes these committees are so proactive in their approach that even when there is no complaint and they see some friction in teams, they try and coach and counsel and finish it at that level before it becomes a complaint, you see. So that's the beauty of an internal committee. If it functions the right way, it can create a lot of positive environment in the organization, one. And two, when I say an internal committee working towards, if the internal committee knows what comprises of sexual harassment, what does not comprise of sexual harassment, they are able to guide people in the right direction also. So these are the two things that are very, very essential for any internal committee. Third is, an annual report needs to be filed by the internal committee every year. Okay. Now, when this annual report needs to be filed, the internal committee needs to write what cases came, what complaints came, how much time did you take to finish that. And there is a timeline within which, like within 90 days, a complaint needs to be closed, and that's also one very good aspect of PoSH, that, within 90 days, your complaint will be heard and a final action will be taken on it. So if that does not happen, then you have to write in that report that why were you not able to finish it within the span of 90 days and come to a final conclusion. So these are a few things that are very nice, and that can actually help the internal committee can help the organization, in fact, to create a good atmosphere and build a good reputation in the market, preferred employees organization.
Okay. So what advice do you have for companies that are looking to build a supportive and harassment-free workplace culture?
So my only advice to organizations that want harassment-free organizations is, number one, yes, be PoSH compliant, not just on paper, not just as a trick mark, but in the complete essence of it. Have the right posters, have the right awareness programs, educate your internal committee to handle the complaint rightly. Now, when a complainant comes to you, they come with an emotion. When a respondent comes to you, respondent is the person against whom the report has been filed. The IC has to be unbiased in their approach. They cannot have a preset mind that, okay, this person is saying so that also needs to be taken care of, because we've had situations where cases have come, people have committed suicide in an organization like Genpact because that person felt that I am not guilty and a case has been filed against me. So the role of internal committee is so important, because they need to counsel, they need to guide, and they do not need to judge. You have to work like a judge of a court, unbiased, no emotions, no that is why we say, free and fair hearing. That's how we say. So all these things need to be taken care of. So my humble submission to any organization that wants a harassment free and a positive culture in an organization, that is number one. And number two, a lot of organizations where we talk about PoSH, also the men complain that there is nothing for men, but now we have men grievance cell. It does not fall under PoSH. However, you as an organization can create your own grievance cell for men where even men can go and complain. So
Wow.
we say that when we say gender equality, we really mean gender equality. So if
Yes.
PoSH does not give you that opportunity, never mind, create an opportunity for them, create a cell for them.
Mm.
Now that complaint will not come under PoSH, but can be handled on a similar lines.
Mm. So can you discuss the importance of sensitizing employees and educating them about workplace harassment and PoSH compliance?
So yes, as I've already mentioned, Bhavita, PoSH compliance, when you say educating, you mean the organizations or you mean the employees in the organization?
Educating both.
Sorry, educating the people.
Yeah, people.
Okay.
People and organization, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at three aspects of it. So first is the top management, the
Yeah.
core team of
Yeah.
the organization. If that is aligned to the entire concept of sexual harassment, I think it's a trickle down effect, and then everything falls in line. Then comes the role of IC and HR, and then comes the role of making the employees aware of the entire thing. So it's like that's how it is structured.
So how does your program they equip participants to handle real life cases of workplace harassment through case studies and role plays?
Yes, so we use a lot of real life case studies and role plays. Now, when I say real life, I don't mean I pick up cases. We have created case studies because there is a confidentiality clause. Even if I have dealt with a number of cases, I cannot actually discuss them. But yes, in a sense, we can talk about it. So we've kind of made a lot of role plays around that. We've created a lot of case studies for them to understand that what happens if you if there is a case, if you are who can complain, how do you file a complaint, within how much duration do you need to file a complaint, what will comprise of a harassment, what will not comprise of a harassment. So all these things are taken care of, and this is what we talk about in the entire program, and we give you a complete framework. Now there are a lot of report formats that are also needed when you are an IC member. So those report formats are also shared with you, that when you send a letter, copy of a complaint to the respondent, this is how you need to send it. When you send it to a witness, this is how you need to send it. So all those things, all the nitty-gritties and legalities are taken care, and how to take care of those.
Okay, so what are some of the critical facilitation skills that are taught in your program, and why are they important for conducting PoSH training session?
Yeah, so PoSH training is very unlike any other normal training, because there are a lot of things that come up, like men feel a certain way, women will feel a certain way, and there are a lot of
Biasness, personal biasness.
personal biasness.
Yeah.
So you as a trainer need to be very, very neutral in addressing everyone, because sometimes what happens, if you are a male, you are bent towards a male perspective. If you're a female, you're bent towards a female perspective.
Yeah.
So that needs to go away from the
Mm.
when you're conducting a training program. You again have to have a very unbiased approach, and you have to see that if a man is saying that, why am I a part of this program? This is specifically for women. And sometimes even questions like, Kamal, you say there should be gender equality and gender neutrality, but this whole law breaks that. It's a very, very women centric law, and that is, and then how you address that, how you answer that, is what is of essence, because everybody in the training program needs to be satisfied that what is the purpose of them being in the training program, how are they going to gain from that. So that is what we kind of uh, take care of in the facilitation skills. And if there are some specific cases, sometimes women bring up, you need to tell them, we will do that one-on-one, because we cannot discuss cases in a training program, because again, confidentiality clauses there. So all these things are taken care when we talk about the facilitation skills.
Okay, so can you explain the benefits an organization might experience by becoming PoSH compliant in terms of employee morale and company reputation?
Yes, so the most important benefit is creating a good gender diverse employee strength in an organization. Any
Hmm.
organization where women feel safe and respected, more women will want to come and join such an organization.
Hmm.
And it's a
Hmm.
word of mouth that spreads, very fast. And similarly, retention is much higher in such organizations because of
Hmm.
the entire cultural uh,
Hmm.
context. If it is a positive and healthy culture where
Hmm.
women are respected and safe, I think even men will also feel respected and safe.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? It's again a mutual understanding thing. So that creates a very positive environment in the organization. However, if an organization is not following your PoSH policy, and suppose there is a case of sexual harassment, suppose I am a woman, I am facing sexual harassment at my organization, I don't know who to go to, who to talk. I'm talking to my colleague, I'm talking to somebody here, somebody there, nobody has any solution for me. Everybody will say, "Are you ignore na yaar, just let it be, it's minor." Or
Hmm.
why don't you go to your boss, why don't you go to the HR? Things like that will happen. However, you don't know concrete what to do. Now,
Hmm.
if this woman goes out and decides to file an FIR, what will happen? What the name of the organization is the first thing. An
Yeah.
employee from so and so organization has filed an
Yeah.
FIR against this
Yeah.
person, right?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
the entire organization's
They under scrutiny. Yeah.
brand is under scrutiny and it
Yeah.
gets a bad name in the public eye,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Because our public is very short, they have a short term memory.
Yeah.
Initially they will write everything, in the media will write everything about it,
Yeah.
they will never
Hmm.
take it to its conclusion, what happened
Hmm.
at the end.
Hmm.
No, but there'll be a bad name, bad publicity for the organization, which
Hmm.
will lead to a market reputation which says that okay, in this organization women are not safe and respected. So that's
Hmm.
another benefit of having PoSH. If you have a PoSH compliance in place in the right manner, more people would want to join the organization. You will save bad publicity. Your organization will be respected for being a very good employee. Or
So, how do you ensure the content and training in your program are relevant and up to date with current laws and societal changes?
yeah, so for that, I also keep upgrading myself because recently only there has been a change in the criminal law, and some of the aspects are also pertaining to PoSH. So we also keep upgrading our course on a regular basis. I am a part of a very large group of lawyers and PoSH trainers where we keep having discussions. We keep talking about what are the new changes, how are things changes, how is it evolving, what are the new things that have come to it. So and all that is inculcated in the program, and every now and then we will see that if there is a change, if there is a legality that has changed, if there is a new recommendation that has come in, we keep adding to the existing module. That's how we work around it.
Hmm. Okay. So, what feedback you've received from your past participants and the impact of the program on the professional lives in workplaces?
So the feedback so far has been 100% positive, Babita, by God's
Wow.
grace, and
Yes.
supportive people like you. Uh, People have been very happy. But the best thing that I've heard, and the feedback that I've got is that the program has not just enriched me professionally, it has enriched me personally as a person. I have started to look at things very differently when it comes to unconscious bias, and I've also started to use that within my family to create that environment. And I think
Wow.
that is one very good feedback that I've received from a couple of my participants, and that's really touched my heart. And rest is, yes, of course, professionally we get good feedback that the reports are amazing, the way the program is structured is very good, it's very easy for us to understand and then implement it in our organizations. So all those things. And sometimes I also received requests where they say, why don't you do a train the trainer for us so that we can also be certified? We said going forward, maybe we'll start doing that as well. So
Wow.
that's all of it.
Nice. So, how can organizations ensure that the internal committees are equipped to handle complaints with fairness and confidentiality?
So first thing is the involvement of the management, the top
Okay.
management, because the top management is never a part of the internal committee, right? That is one. Two is actually giving them the right kind of knowledge, which
Hmm.
is required for them to understand. Most of the times, I've seen the internal committee members do not have the right kind of knowledge. I have had people in my training programs who are internal committee members and who would say, we don't know this, we were never told this, that
Hmm.
okay, this is how
Yeah.
it should be looked
Yeah.
at. These are the things that we should look at. If a
Yeah.
complaint comes to us, what do we do? How do we categorize whether it is a
Yeah.
PoSH complaint or not?
Yeah.
What is the next step to be taken? So all those things, if you are able to give the right kind of knowledge, your IC will be thoroughly equipped. That's number one. Number two is the counseling skills of the internal committee, because PoSH, when you're dealing with a complainant and a respondent, it's not just about a complaint per se. You're also dealing with a lot of emotions, and the responsibility of the IC is immense. Not many people understand the kind of responsibility they have when they become a part of an internal committee.
True.
You need to be a counselor and guide to both the parties, not one, because you don't
Yeah.
know in the beginning who's guilty,
Who's right? Yeah. Yeah. Who's guilty?
right? It's
Exactly. Yeah.
later you will realize. So you have to be fair to both the parties. You have to counsel and handhold both the parties so that none feels cornered.
Hmm.
That's the most
True.
important aspect.
Yeah. So, what message would you like to share with organizations and individuals who are hesitant to invest in PoSH training and compliance programs?
Yeah, so again, my humble submission to each and every person who's watching this, or anyone who's planning to, any organization that has more than 10 employees should have an IC in place. Please
Hmm.
make sure that you have an IC in place. And when I say IC, do not just have PoSH as a compliance tick mark. My request to you is, it is such a beautiful tool and mechanism for you to create positivity and good culture in your organization of
Organization. Yeah.
respect and love and professionalism.
Hmm.
So please use it properly, not just as a compliance tool. That is two. And three, give a lot of awareness to the employees in your organizations. That is only what will make PoSH successful. The more right awareness you provide, the less the number of complaints you will receive.
All right. Thank you so much, Kamal, for joining us and enlightening us on PoSH. So, I wish more and more organizations contact you and get this into their organizations.
Thank you so
Oh,
much,
it was great
Bhavita.
having
Thank you
you.
very much talking to you. And also, Bhavita, I would like to know, I've heard you doing something very interesting. Could you also tell us about yourself, about your
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we do is I've been into emceeing and anchoring from past 12 years. And I do all kind of events. I do corporates, concerts, social events. Now the thing is that I've seen that there's a lot of opportunity because events are more than it's a big market. I think more than a 10,000 crore market it is, event industry, and there are almost 8 to 10 lakh weddings happening every year in India.
Oh, yes.
So, in events, they want entertainment, they want MCs, they want anchors. So, audience entertainment, audience engagement is extremely important for an event to be successful,
Right,
right? So,
right.
when an event manager is spending 4 crores or 5 crores or more than that on an event, they would definitely don't want to compromise with the talent.
Right.
So what do we do is we train talent and we have a portal, talent for events. And when we train them, we put them there so that they can contact with event managers. We have good contacts and then we can give them work. So this is what we are doing. Yeah. Nowadays, if you see universities or colleges, they have conventional system of training people. But anchoring is a skill-based profession and this profession could be taught. Just like artificial intelligence, you have to learn these skills. It's upcoming. So anchoring, yeah, it is. It is an old profession, but many people didn't know how to follow it professionally. So we help them to follow it professionally. and to make money out of it. And it's not something that requires your 8 hours or 10 hours every day, like your 25 days are going 8 hours every day. It's not like a job. You can, if you're doing a job or you're doing a business, you can definitely take this up. And side by side on holidays, there's so many events happening near to Diwali, New Year's. You can start this as a part-time profession. And once you've developed your market, then you can shift to it profession. So I think every person who has this gift of gap should definitely try to be an MC and anchor. There's a huge demand out there. As I told you, there are 10 lakh weddings happening every year in India. So they need MCs, entertainers. Corporates need MCs, entertainers for their team building exercises, for the rewards and recognition they need. Yeah, and then they need for their family days, their annual days. So MCs are always in demand. So I want this, to make a to make this to make an education portal out of it, so that people can come learn and then they start earning.
Right. So you're making it more of a professional skill to have, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's very interesting because even in training programs, we are also more or less MCs in a training program, right?
Yeah.
Now we are also doing a lot of drama-based training
Oh
programs.
wow. Yeah,
Drama-based training.
that'll be more engaging with the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've always done experiential programs, and I'm sure what you are doing is completely in line with that. And apart from earning from it, I feel if somebody learns it and if they're still working, they can start using that skill in their own
Yeah.
organization
They
and
can
be
they can
more
start using that.
visible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They can start using it. They can, create content on it, and then they can push themselves professionally. They can do that.
That's very interesting to know. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we had an interesting conversation. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time
Thank you.
today, Kamal, and enlightening us on PoSH.
Thank you so much. And I will definitely stay in touch with the MC part and anchoring part
Yeah,
with you.
sure, sure. All right.